Well, we had a very interesting happening on the political front this week, and got some, shall we say, up and down reaction on social media as
yes, let's say that.
the former WWE WWF champion Hulk Hogan spoke at the Republican National Committee or convention this week. I watched the speech and had to say the Hulkster had him going.
Right.
He had everybody pumped up. There wasn't any doubt about that. And I was, pumping my fist with the Hulkster, man. He's ripping the shirt off, having a great time, inspired some funny memes. I saw a great one, by the way, where someone had changed the Trump Vance shirt to a Biden Harris shirt and put the NWO beard stubble on him. It was hilarious. It's like, whose side is he really on? So
you're giving away what's going to happen at the Democratic National Convention.
that was kind of funny, but it was, the RNC convention was very different this year. They kind of turned it up a little bit and had a little fun this year instead of being all stuck up and stodgy like it normally is. But I think it raised a bigger question to me. And I'm somebody who was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan when I was a kid. And, and he was actually the one that really inspired me. I know I don't look it now, but, back then I was kind of a shy kid that got picked on a lot and was chunky and, just had a lot going on at home too. And Hulk Hogan really was my inspiration to get back into sports, to start working out, and really changed my life. And of course, became the subject of controversy, made those had those taped racial comments get out, and it really shattered a lot of people's thoughts about Hulk Hogan. And no matter what, he's been a controversial figure, from people saying what they've said about him, where he's kind of put himself over in different situations that have happened in locker rooms and so on. But he recently found Christ and has been trying to get that a positive message out. And I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to be interested to see what the reaction is in the chat box, because he has tried to make amends. Is it time to forgive Hulk Hogan? Is it time to say, you know what, you screwed up, you said some dumb things, he's 70 years old, let it go? Or do we not let it go? And there were some passionate feelings on both sides on social media when he spoke. I mean, either way. So, Phil, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that, because he's a beloved figure, but a hated figure in the same time in pro wrestling. And I'm just wondering, is it time to just celebrate what he did and let the rest of it slide?
So the character of Hulk Hogan is what people like. Terry Bollea is not who people like. And that whole blending of the world, and how much more we're out there in social media, and yes, that was captured footage, and it was, to me, yes, it was wrong. He said it, that he said what he said, even though it was a private conversation. I will say, I think WWE has forgiven him. I mean, he's been on 2 or 3 WrestleManias since all of this happened. And the question I have, though, is, has he really tried to make amends? Because the time he got brought back into the back in WWE, and he talked to the locker room, he didn't really own the comments. He didn't really take responsibility for them. It was more like, yeah, you need to pay attention. I can't remember the wording, but it felt like more like he was taking responsibility for getting caught on being recorded than he was really taking ownership of what he really said. I feel like there was an interview where he's like, that's not what I really meant. That, I was emotional in the moment. Okay, I get that. I totally understand that. I don't know if he's made amends. That the one part of your whole question, I don't know if he's there. But I think the wrestling community in many ways has. That's not apologizing or forgetting what he said. But I think a lot of the wrestling community has, because WWE has brought him back out a couple of times since then too. So I don't think, part of me is like, you go either way. I think it's very challenging as an individual to go, here's my political following and here's where I'm going. I think for any public person, that it's a very dangerous step to take, because then are you disenfranchising half of the audience that follows you because, oh, you didn't, quote, pick my side. So I think that's more of the rough spot. I agree with you. I thought what he said was very passionate. I thought what he said, you're right, it rallied that crowd up. It got him energized and excited because it was a Hulk Hogan promo. It wasn't Terry Bollea.
Yeah, it was, and I will say on his part, it took a lot of guts to do that, because as you mentioned, it is very difficult for someone who is in the public eye to step out, and it's not something that I recommend for people to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an entertainer, there's ways you can do it without going over the line and going crazy with it, but it's a risk. It's a risk of alienating half of your audience, especially the way times are right now. So, it was a bold move on everybody's parts to put him up there, and I was curious to see how everyone was going to react in the wrestling community to it, and and just people in general. And like I said, it was about what I expected. It was about what I expected. Some people were taking pot shots, and some people were absolutely loving every second of it. So,
right.
And I can never condone what he said. I remember when I heard it, and it crushed me. It really did. I don't know if he really feels that way in his heart or not, if that's who he truly is. I've never met the man, but what a slip up. But
I take a little bit, when I think of the man, I don't think of Hulk Hogan. When I think of the man, there's a lot of things that have come out over time that you're like, is this really where you want to be? And I'm not even talking about the locker room, about how he quote protected the name of Hulk Hogan, but like his son goes to jail for almost killing somebody, and the way he talked to his kid about it was sort of very dismissive of the person who got hurt. And it's sort of like, that tells me a little bit more about the character of the person. What he's done in his relationship is his business too, but that's been very public. And remember who he was talking to in that recording too, leads to some questionable behavior about the character of Terry Bollea. Yeah. So I think people who go, I loved Hulk Hogan for what he did, and what it meant to my childhood, great. That's Hulk Hogan, not Terry. Yeah. Terry's a very different subject.
Yes, he is. So there you go. We wanted to bring it up because it made national news. So Hulk Hogan running wild at the RNC. I don't know if there's somebody to counter that. I'm sure there is, but I don't know if anybody else would have the guts to do it.
The Rock?
No, he already said he's out of this one. He said he is not getting involved, and he caught hell for that too. He made everybody mad on that one. That was, and that was, I thought that was a mistake when he did it too. When he came out for Biden in the last election, that caused him to catch grief from everybody. And then this time around, he didn't hear. He said, "I'm not taking sides," and then everybody's mad at him because he didn't take a side. Probably was just best to say, you know what? I'm Dwayne. I'm just going to hang out. That's what I do. So I can jump. I've been jumping on Dwayne's case enough as is over the past couple of months to, how's Hawaii? But anyway, anyway.